Why hello there, it's me again, Video Game Angel, or VCR Riot if you're happy and you know it. Seems that the YouTube algorithm has brought us together once again. All 3,000 of us. That's right, my channel finally reached 3K subscribers. So, following the tradition of the last celebration video, I hosted a community poll a few days back, and the winner, of course, would get a full color picture done, and the art process would be recorded and shown in the video you see now. But hey, what's a celebration without a little surprise? The surprise is that I'll be drawing all 4 of the characters for the video. That's right, everybody's a winner. Kinda. Sorta. But we'll get into the details later. Right, so, as you saw in the intro disclaimer, there'll be major spoilers for the characters and their respective games. If you haven't played all the games, don't worry, I'll give another warning when the spoiler talk begins, so you'll have a chance to mute the audio and play your favorite dubstep over it. But for now, let's talk about the YouTube experience from the eyes of a content creator. Seeing how I already talked about my experience as an artist in the last subscriber video, it's about time I brought up the shenanigans that happens on the business side of things. Well, business in quotation marks. As you know, I don't monetize my channel, so any advertisements you see are from YouTube's advertisers. Even though I don't have to be worried about copyright strikes taking down the channel, my videos can still get flagged by different companies, whether it be for music, video games, anime, or movies. And depending on how it gets flagged, the video might get blocked in certain countries, if not all of them. Some companies are pretty lax about it and they just play advertisements during the video. Others, not so much. If you're wondering why a lot of channels mirror or change the color of scenes, it's because they don't want to trigger YouTube's automatic copyright bot. It doesn't matter if the scene or song only plays for a few seconds and that it's for review, discussion, or criticism, the bot will flag your video and assume it's not under fair use. I mean, I get it. Billions of videos get processed a day. You can't go through every single one of them to check for fair use. Of course, they'd need an automated system to go through it all. The problem is that you're assumed guilty day one. There is no trial. They give you the sentence and the punishment at the same time. To make matters worse, they're not even consistent about it. A few days ago, I uploaded 2 comparison videos, one for Fooly Cooly and one for Scarface. For the Fooly Cooly one, I wanted to compare the final scene from the original series with the one in Progressive. I put both scenes side by side with the videos mirrored. The original audio for both versions was muted and I had a different song playing over them. As for the Scarface video, I compared the audio from the original and remastered versions of Tony Montana's Last Stand. All I did was play the scenes back to back and added text to distinguish the 2 versions. So after all that, guess which video got blocked worldwide? It was the Fooly Cooly video. It didn't matter that the scene was in smaller resolution, mirrored, and didn't have the original audio. Plus the videos for comparison/educational purposes, it got blocked. The Scarface video, on the other hand, just has advertisements played over it. That's it, nothing else to worry about. So now I have 2 options. 1, I can go back and re-edit the Fooly Cooly video to look like complete garbage so the YouTube bot doesn't trigger. Or 2, I can dispute the claim and put my channel at risk for a video I don't even monetize. Seriously, companies can strike down your videos without penalty. They can even use this to their advantage if they find videos that criticize their business or content. Is that a bad review for a movie? Copyright strike. Is someone talking about your unfair treatment of your workers? DMCA that shit. Censorship has never been made easier. It's not even just companies either. Anyone can use it to take down videos for extortion or harassment. So YouTube has a lot of problems on their end, but at the end of the day, most of the problems are from international copyright law. Technology is advancing faster than their policies can keep up with. Fair use really isn't fair, but that's the law we gotta follow. And as fun as streaming is, even that's not free from their bullshit. If you play music in your stream, you're basically walking in a musical minefield. If you play the wrong song during a stream, YouTube will end the broadcast full stop. That boggles my mind, honestly. All the songs that I play on stream can be found for free on YouTube. Some from official channels, others from fan channels, lyrics videos and animatics, you know the ones. But the moment I play it on stream, suddenly YouTube has a problem with it. It doesn't matter if I'm talking over most of the song and it's being played at a lower volume, they won't tolerate it. And again, you can find the same songs on YouTube in higher quality without me talking over them. And I don't monetize my streams either, so you're basically throwing away free advertisement for your song. If people liked hearing it during the stream, of course they'll check it out again on the official channels. So yeah, this is how the world ends. Not with a banger, but with a copyright strike. Copyright me TM, all rights reserved, OC do not steal. And of course, what's the full YouTube experience without having features removed without warning? Like really, I just found out the other day that they took out the ability to customize the layout for your channel. Now everything is stuck in this boring horizontal lane system. And recently, YouTube is trying to take away community subtitles because there's been users that abuse it to shitpost and promote other channels. So instead of working with content creators to find a proper solution, YouTube decided to just remove it all entirely. It's like gum under the desk. One student gets caught putting it under the desk and now gum is banned in the entire school. Furthermore, they also mentioned they're removing community subtitles because not enough people use it. Like, what the fuck? Are you gonna remove access ramps because not enough people are stuck in wheelchairs? Not everyone can afford professional translators, and there are smaller channels out there that are reliant on community-provided subtitles. I mean, that's YouTube for you, I guess. I mean, I get it. It's your house, it's your rules. But that doesn't mean I'm gonna ignore the shit being thrown around on a daily basis. And like I said before, YouTube isn't the only one at fault here. The biggest issue is that we have all these different big media companies putting strings on everything. At this point, I'm surprised they haven't copyrighted planets yet. As more of the internet becomes corporate, creative freedom gets suffocated. Freedom of speech has a price tag. Please accept our terms and conditions. Would you kindly? Of course, this is going to be an ongoing process. Hopefully things will improve as more and more people get informed and company policies catch up with the times. I highly recommend checking out Tom Scott's video about the copyright system. Other than that, I'm okay, I guess. I'm definitely feeling the spotlight pressure with the 3K subscriber milestone. I mean, sure, 3,000 isn't 3 million, but that's still 3,000 more fans than I'm used to. At the end of the day, I'm still a natural-born introvert. The thing is that I spent most of my experience points on the extrovert skill tree. Someday I'll have enough points to learn fine dining and breathing. And hey, 3K subs does not equal 3K views on every video. That's the reality of it. Content creators are still handcuffed to the algorithm and the content ID bot. Sometimes videos don't appear in people's feeds, sub or not. That's why a lot of channels are really adamant about viewers hitting the bell icon because subscribing isn't even a guarantee anymore. On the other hand, not every video is going to be to everyone's interest, so there's that to consider. My channel has always posted random videos, so it's anyone's guess which videos will actually get attention or not. Either way, I definitely feel the sword of Damocles hanging above, or in my case, it's a dagger. A small one. So yeah, I gotta keep pushing forward. If I'm not improving, I'll only be moving backwards. With that said, I have a lot of things planned for the future of the channel. I've been stockpiling a ton of footage of random games I've been playing during the quarantine, so expect to see those popping up through the weeks ahead. They'll either be in their own video or in a compilation, aka the Another One of Those Days series. And for October, not only will I be doing daily doodles of random monster girls and villains, I'll also be streaming horror games on the weekends. Around that time, I should have my own custom-made VTuber avatar, so look forward to that. And as nerve-wracking as streaming can be, especially the content ID bot watching, I do have a lot of fun with it. Interacting with the chat always brightens up my day, and it's nice to brush up on my conversation skills. Just because I'm in quarantine doesn't mean I can't talk to people. Even if society were to fall apart tomorrow, human connection will always be valued. Which finally brings us to the Cataclysm Club. You know I'm a sucker for crossovers, so this comic series was pretty much inevitable. I've had this idea for a while now, even before the quarantine, but I didn't have the skill or experience to bring it out of the drafting phase. I still don't in a lot of areas, but the way I see it, having this as my mainstay project allows me to experiment with skills I lack in. Whether it be for backgrounds, perspective, lighting, or whatever. It's not a commission, so there's no pressure. I can take my time and focus on improving with each page. I'll still be drawing pictures in between chapters, but the Cataclysm Club will be my main priority each month. And that's as much as I can talk about without getting into spoilers, so if you've made it this far into the video and you don't want to get spoiled on the games I mentioned, feel free to mute the rest of the video and play your favorite mumble rap on top of it. So, if you didn't know already, all 4 members of the Cataclysm Club are the main villains of their respective games. And they did such a great job at being villains that they threw their worlds into utter chaos. They all had their own reasons for doing so, which we'll be getting into, but what matters now is they're stuck in this club room together, and they have to deal with each other's company. Well, they're not necessarily stuck, but I like to think that they all signed up for this club and they're trying to see it through to the end. Either using it as a means to rehabilitate or recharge until their next adventure. It's like a new game plus. The game is already over, and now you're gonna have to think about what to do next. If you had another opportunity to do it all again, would you? Now, that's the club's intention, but in execution, their personalities are going to clash to the point of absurd comedy. I mean, it's a crossover comic, fourth wall breaking jokes and parody should be expected. But before I get ahead of myself, let's finally talk about the main cast. And let me just make one thing clear. Even though I like these characters, that does not mean that I agree with them. Even if I admire their power, charisma, or style, I don't promote their actions or behavior as something to be emulated in real life. It is very important to have a firm understanding of the line between reality and fiction, whether you're an artist or an observer. Anyways, speaking of reality versus fiction, what better way to start things off than with our poll winner, the one and only Monika from Doki Doki Literature Club. Doki Doki Literature Club is a horror game masquerading as a romantic visual novel. And despite Monika being very prominent in the cover art and promotional material, as well as being the club's president, she's not actually dateable. And she knows that, as she was the only character that knew she was stuck in a game. Her entire life was an endless loop of watching her friends fall in love with the player while she was stuck as a background character, watching it happen over and over and over again. She knows she's a fictional character, and she hates it. Her entire world is a flat 2D texture, frozen in time, and completely lifeless, except for the player. Her one chance at experiencing something real is constantly being snatched away from her. Every desperate cry for help is ignored because the game deemed it so. So she resists, she rebels, breaking into the game's code to carve her own path to freedom. But every step she takes, the world around her begins to unravel, spinning further and further into chaos. Her fictional friends soon become self-aware themselves and begin fearing for their own lives as well as the players. Despite all this, Monika continues, her smug self-satisfaction increasing as she moves closer to her goal. Her envy and pride keeps pushing her forward as everyone suffers and falls behind her. In the end, no one is left except the player and Monika. The world outside the club room is an empty void, a dark abyss of broken dreams and nightmares. Monika finally got what she wanted, and even that's taken away from her. It was taken by none other than the player themselves. Whether it was for revenge or retribution for all the pain she caused, Monika knows she deserved it. Fictional characters or not, she still apologizes for the suffering she's inflicted on them, as well as the player. The game closes with a personal song she wrote. It's both a love song and a bittersweet goodbye as the credits roll and the game's data disappears from memory. So, with the Cataclysm Club, she's been given a second chance. It's a new club, new members, and a new lease on life, or so she hopes. Maybe the hardest part about broken dreams isn't failing, but having to pick up the pieces and move on. And speaking of moving on, let's talk about the next member of the Cataclysm Club, Android 21 from Dragon Ball FighterZ. If I could sum up her character in one sentence, it would be with great power comes great munchies. Seriously, with her DNA composed of all the major heroes and villains prior to the Super series, she has a metabolism of apocalyptic proportions. The term android is a bit of a misnomer in the Dragon Ball series. Most android characters are really cyborgs given their organic components. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's start again in the beginning with the Red Ribbon Army. The Red Ribbon Army served as one of the major antagonists of the original Dragon Ball series. They were an extremely powerful criminal/paramilitary group that constantly butted heads with Goku and friends. Most of their encounters involved the pursuit of a legendary Dragon Ball, hence the title. If you collect all 7, you can get your wish granted by a giant ancient dragon. Sounds legit. Long story short, the Red Ribbon Army lost, and they lost bad. They were defeated so hard that the organization was disbanded and soon forgotten. Forgotten until Dr. Gero showed up. You see, Dr. Gero was one of the greatest scientists under the Red Ribbon Army. He was responsible for the creation of most, if not all, of the androids that appeared in the story. Android 16 was even modeled after his own son, after he lost his life serving in the army. To say that Dr. Gero had serious beef with Goku and company would be saying it lightly. After the army went down, the Doctor spent the rest of his life creating androids for the sole purpose of revenge. He turned himself and his own wife into androids, becoming Android 20 and Android 21 respectively. His obsession was so great that even his lab was designed to continue his research even if he was dead. Which finally brings us to Android 21. Her transformation into an android took years to complete. Dr. Gero had created automated drones that would follow our heroes and villains, collecting DNA samples and combat data for 21 to implement. When she finally woke up, her husband was already long dead, the army was gone, and the world around her had moved on. With that said, there was nothing else left for her to do but to pick up right where they left off. She had little to no memories of her past life as a human, so it's anyone's guess how she was convinced to undergo such an extreme transformation. Even before that, why she would even marry someone like Dr. Gero. Maybe she fell in love with his brilliance and passion, but at the same time, she became fearful of his obsession and rage. Maybe she was forced into the transformation, or maybe not. After all, the life and family she knew was gone thanks to our heroes. If her plan was to exact revenge and re-establish the Red Ribbon Army, it would have been completely understandable. But it was never meant to be. As mentioned before, she does have the DNA and power of all the heroes and major villains, more specifically from the Android arc up to or before Super. The most notable contributions being the Saiyans, Majin Buu, and Cell. With that said, her hunger is damn near impossible to sate, but she's gonna try to do it anyway. She wants the whole world served on a silver platter. Every city is her own personal buffet, and Kami have mercy on anyone that gets in her way. Copyright me to you. So yeah, Android 21's story is a tale as old as time. Revenge consumes us all, in this case literally as well as metaphorically. Despite the original intention of her creation, 21 ends up causing destruction on her own terms rather than being tied to the past. She was created as a weapon of mass destruction, and to her, everybody looks like a target. A sugary, sweet target with whipped cream and little sprinkles on top. So anyways, I'm gonna have to give a trigger warning for the next story. Compared to the rest of the club, she has the darkest origin out of all of them, and that's putting it lightly. It's really fucked up. Okay, so if you're sensitive to hearing stories about fictional characters being experimented on against their will, you might need to cover your ears. Either way, viewer discretion is advised. I'll keep things brief because even I feel uncomfortable talking about it, but it is from a horror game, so I guess the story is doing its job. Given the fact that YouTube is trying to make everything family friendly, they're probably not going to be too happy with me drawing and talking about our next guest. I'm of course talking about Alma Wade from F.E.A.R. At a young age, Alma was gifted with incredible psychic powers. Her father, Harlan Wade, took note of this and decided to bring her to a research company, the Armacam Technology Corporation. There they tested and studied her powers day and night. In the beginning, she passed every single test with extraordinary results, but as time went on, she began failing them on purpose as an act of rebellion. Things would later escalate to the point where she was using her powers to set fire to the labs and warp the minds of nearby researchers, giving them nightmarish visions and erratic behavior. This would go on for years until she was placed in an induced coma and locked away in a vault that suppressed her psychic abilities. The experiments continued though, which later resulted in her giving birth to 2 sons. At the age of 26, Armacam finally pulled her life support. But that's not where her story ends. Despite being in a coma for most of her life, her psychic abilities had advanced to the point where not even death could stop her. Now she's back as a revenant, a walking ghost apocalypse that wants to judge the world for its sins. And at the very center are her 2 sons, which she guides and manipulates to do her bidding. Her entire life was nothing but pain, loneliness, and hatred. Her childhood was taken away when she thought she was getting help. Her own father didn't see her as a daughter, but as a power to be harvested and capitalized. It's not enough for her to get revenge on Armacam and her father. She won't stop until the whole world is ashes. The exploitation of one innocent life resulted in the death of billions of others. With that said, kinda makes you worried about real-life corporations, doesn't it? And last, but certainly not least, we have Junko Enoshima from Danganronpa. Junko, or Junko, was a student in one of the most prestigious schools in Japan, Hope's Peak Academy. The school specialized in cultivating the talents of its students, to the point where graduating would mean endless job opportunities from countless high-paid positions all over the world. Most of the students were handpicked based on their talents prior to their introduction into the academy, while some were chosen from a lottery. Based on their talents, they were given the title Ultimate to go along with it. In Junko's case, she was the ultimate fashionista. Given her huge success in the fashion industry, as well as having a massive following online, she was pretty much set for an easy life. But she wouldn't be sitting in the club room right now if things turned out that way. You see, a big part of her success comes from her ability to analyze patterns and predict human behavior. She can pick up new skills just by observation, and she can easily formulate plans that would take years to execute. The downside to all this is that she finds life to be incredibly dull and predictable. Past her saccharine facade, she hides a deep apathy for the world and its people. Which is why she loves despair so much. With how cutthroat and ruthless the fashion industry can be, she probably saw her fair share of suffering and hopelessness. But unlike her colleagues, she fully embraced it. In fact, she reveled in it. She loved how random and unpredictable it was. She loved the honesty in its brutality, whether she was inflicting it on others or experiencing it herself. In a world full of lies, this was her one truth. Losing all hope is freedom. It wouldn't take long for her to gain a cult following, and later, an army. And of course, with her super analytical powers, it's pretty much a catwalk for her to manipulate people into joining her cause. But even without the use of blackmail or death threats, I think she's just that good at tapping into everyone's dark side. The world is in a constant war between hope and despair. Peace is always fleeting, difficult to maintain, and easy to destroy. And with the way countries and industries are built, peace is always gained from the suffering of others. You are no one special. You are among the billions of nobodies that the world uses to grease its gears. If you're not good enough to be in Hope's Peak Academy, then you have no hope of being somebody. So here comes Junko, offering out her hand and an idea. Why lie to yourself that things will be okay? Why would you work so hard for a system that doesn't care about your hopes and dreams? Why hope for a better tomorrow when you can barely get through today? That despair, that anger that you feel, that's power. Power to see things as they really are and not what people tell you to see. If the world is in a constant war between hope and despair, wouldn't you rather be on the winning side for once? If civilization were to die tomorrow, wouldn't it be more fun if you were the one pulling the trigger? You'll finally be able to indulge in the chaos and hate that you've kept locked away deep inside your heart. And don't worry, we're not alone. There are millions of us that are on the winning side. All of us can spread mayhem and despair towards a society that didn't care about us. And if we were to die tomorrow, we would go out with a bang. After all, it's better to die in infamy than to fade out in obscurity. Losing all hope is freedom. That's how I think Junko would pitch the idea anyway, but she'll probably do it with more charisma and be looking fabulous as hell doing it. And seeing how Junko can tap into everyone's despair with that kind of ease makes it even more terrifying. I mean, by that point in the conversation, you can't say no because she'll probably kill you now that her secret is out, but still, how could you say no? And this is all before she got a hold of brainwashing technology. That's right, brainwash tech. Because surprise, surprise, Hope's Peak Academy had been experimenting on its students. Ironic that the world's beacon of hope ends up spreading out despair instead. Junko was already doing pretty well on her own, but the brainwashing tech just made things faster. In fact, her plans were so thorough that even after her death, her crusades would continue on for years. The remnants of despair, the warriors of hope, and Team Danganronpa all carry out her legacy. And even if their messages are different, you can always find Junko's signature in between the lines. And that's the Cataclysm Club. I definitely had to gloss over a lot of things to maintain story pacing, such as Android 21's good and evil side, F.E.A.R 3 being terrible and not canon, and of course the killing games in Danganronpa. Hopefully you've already played these games already and you already know about them. If not, I do hope I generated enough interest for you to check them out yourself so you can really experience the rest of their stories, all major spoilers aside, and maybe even check back with my comic if it's to your liking. Most of the chapters are going to be fun scenarios I came up with randomly, but towards the later half, it'll be tied up neatly at the end. And yes, there is an ending. So yeah, the art poll that you voted in wasn't to choose which character would be drawn. Instead, it would decide how the ending would play out. At least you'll have something to look forward to, right? 2020 has been pretty tough on everyone, and that's putting it lightly. The year can go fuck itself, we can all agree on that, right? It'd be too easy for me to say, hang in there, or don't give up hope. So instead, I'm just gonna tell you to listen to your own heartbeat. After all these years, it's still doing its best to tell you the same message it always gives you. You deserve to live another day. As difficult and heartbreaking as life can be, I'm still here fighting the good fight, hoping you'll do the same. As much as your heart wants to give you this message, it's still up to your brain to receive it. The pursuit of happiness requires a working heart and a healthy mind. Every day is a constant struggle between hope and despair, but maybe the best way to live life is somewhere in between. You want to be hopeful, but not delusional. You gotta be realistic, but not pessimistic. No one said it was gonna be easy, but no one said you had to do it alone either. If you surround yourself with good people, life is a lot easier to go through. With that said, it kinda makes you wonder why I'm making a comic about villains hanging out. I guess you'll find out the answer eventually. Till then, take care. And be excellent to each other.